Well, for once I have some good news for you. Peter is the type of ghoul that needs to be fed daily, the system responded. If that is good news, you have some sick sense of humor, Quinn thought. Just wait, young one. The ones that require food more often quickly get stronger. If you carry on feeding Peter for a week, then by the end of it, he should evolve. In the middle of their conversation, a notification screen popped up. New quest received. Make your family stronger. 2 out of 7 feed your ghoul, Peter, 7 different types of human flesh. Reward? Family member evolution. The quest stated that they would need 7 different types of human flesh. Just like Quinn with his blood, he would only get stronger when consuming a new person's blood. The same could be said for Peter, who would have to consume different types of flesh. If, and I mean a big if, Quinn said, if we carry on using Vorden, will it still suppress his hunger? Yes, although he won't be able to evolve as quickly. He hated the fact that he had to rely on Vorden, and using him would only be delaying the inevitable. Right now he needed to find a solution as fast as possible. Vampires were a secret to the world, and he was sure Fex would want to keep it that way as well. It was a risk, but he would have to confront Fex and ask for his help. In the morning, Quinn and Peter didn't go down to the canteen for breakfast. They had decided to stay in their dorm room. Quinn couldn't bear for Vorden to go through so much pain again. That's why he offered to help. With his greater strength, he was able to cut through the entire leg in one clean stroke. Vorden looked scared when Quinn was about to cut his limb off, but all of a sudden his facial expression changed. Instead of fear, it now showed anger. Vorden shouted at Quinn, "Just do it, you little wimp!" Quinn now wanted Peter to evolve as soon as possible, as hopefully this would help with Peter's dietary problems. Quinn also realized he thought of Peter as a friend again. He suspected the strange bond between them might have something to do with this. Because the 2 days of rest were over, every student was required to start training in their combat classes again. The 3 of them split up. Peter and Vorden went to the elemental class, while Quinn went to his combat class. Now that Peter had been fed twice in a short time, the system assured Quinn that he could last at least 24 hours before he needed to feed again. At that time, Quinn needed to come up with a solution, or if he couldn't, he would have to find Fex and ask him for help. Vorden and Peter were together in the elemental class. However, they pretended to no longer be on speaking terms with each other, of course. Vorden still kept an eye on him. While everyone was looking at the teacher, Vorden noticed that a couple of students had come over to where Peter was standing, and it looked like they were nudging him a bit. The 3 of them started to move away from the crowd towards the back of the classroom, out of sight of the main group of students. Are they working for Duke? Vorden thought. They won't do anything to him here, and Peter has just been fed, so he shouldn't go on another rampage. One of the students whispered into Peter's ear, "Move to the back of the classroom." Once they were at the back, one of them whispered again, saying, "Duke has a message for you. Make sure you bring your Earth ability up to level 4 by the end of the week. If you do, there will be even more rewards for you." Peter agreed because he didn't know what else to do. Now that he had become a ghoul, he couldn't even use his Earth ability anymore. He was wondering how he was going to solve this in a week. Quinn can change the number on his watch by tapping it. Maybe I can ask him how he does that, Peter thought. After staying at the school for only 2 days, Fex had already learnt something. Life at the school was quite boring. The first student that he had met was Aaron. Because Fex was a new student, he had to decide which combat class he wanted to go to, and after finding out Aaron went to the Beast Weapons class, Fex knew what class he wanted to sign up for. Along the way to the Beast Weapons class, Quinn met up with Layla and Aaron, who was trailing behind her. On the way there, Quinn was thinking of possible safe ways to approach Fex. He would need to talk to him in a public place, where he couldn't use his abilities as freely. But before that, he needed to find out what class he was in, or where he was. They arrived in the large training hall, and Leo was there as usual. This time, Leo gathered all the students at the front of the training hall, where a small platform had been raised. Leo stood on top of this platform as he explained the upcoming lesson to everyone. However, just before the lesson started, a new student had entered the room. Leo was completely distracted as he noticed something. This student had the same aura as Quinn did. "Hey, this is the Beast Weapons class, right?" Fex said as he walked through. "Who's that?" "I think it's a new student." "This late into the term, that means he must be a draft evader." When they looked at Fex, their interest quickly died down after seeing he only had the number 1 on his watch. Quinn and Fex looked at each other. They both knew instantly that this was the person who they had fought last night. Fex gave Quinn one look up and down before walking off to find his spot to watch the lesson. This reaction surprised Quinn, to say the least. Isn't he going to say anything? I'm sure he realized I was the person fighting him last night. If I can smell him, he can smell me, Quinn thought. The lesson had started, but it was hard for Quinn to concentrate. As you all know, we have been learning the basics of each weapon, Leo explained as he drew out his katana blade. But there will be times where one's weapon will break, or certain weapons will prove ineffective against the enemy. Leo then threw his blade at the wall behind him. It flew fast, and half of the blade managed to go into the wall until it stopped. In these times, we will have to use our fists. If we have abilities, why would we rely on our hands? Yeah, and even then, if I didn't have a beast weapon or was too tired to use my ability, surely guns would be better? I see. So you think that today's lesson is pointless, correct? Leo asked. Suddenly, Leo started to tear off his military clothing, and underneath he revealed a chest-piece armor that had the face of a demon on it. Even armor-piercing bullets from a sniper rifle at most could knock a single-scale Dalki back. However, when activating the beast gear, the higher-level tier of equipment, the more empowered our bodies to become, Leo said. At first, the students thought they imagined it, but they could all see clearly that the blackish armor around Leo's chest was starting to light up and turn red. Little particles of steam were emerging from the piece as well. Right now, if I was to throw a fist with all my force, I could crumble the foundations of this entire building. The steam started to disappear, and the chest piece's color started to return to normal. At that time, the students realized a certain pressure had disappeared, as if they were under a gravity heavier than they were used to, had disappeared from the room. So they finally figured out how to properly use the power of the beast, huh? Fex said. Well, it looks like they advanced quicker than my father said they would. The power of the fist is useless if you cannot hit your opponent, or if you do not know how to throw a punch, Leo explained. So for today's lesson, I shall be showing you a basic martial art that all soldiers are required to learn. For this, I will need a volunteer. Leo then started to look around the room until his head had stopped at one person. Quinn, how about another spar with me? Having no good excuse to refuse, Quinn walked up onto the platform. Quinn and Leo were standing at opposite ends of the platform. Now for this session, once again, I would like you all to not use any of your abilities. Later on, we will try to learn how to combine your abilities with our fists to make more of an impact, but for now, forget about it, Leo explained as he looked at Quinn. Okay, when you are ready, I want you to come at me and don't pull any punches. Leo assumed a fighting stance, and at the same time, a quest appeared directly in front of Quinn. High-level opponent detected. Defeat the opponent in battle. Reward, instant level up. Let's see if you are the person from last night, Fex, though standing by the sidelines. The fight had started, and while Leo didn't move at all, Quinn started to dash in as fast as he could. He didn't have any of his beast gears on, so his stats were lower than usual, but he also wasn't being affected by the sunlight so much. Seeing Quinn dash from his position, he was certainly fast, but not fast enough for people to think of it as an ability. Quinn threw out a punch fast, but didn't add any of his blood skills. However, Leo was able to move his head to avoid it. Quinn then changed his fist and went to grab Leo instead. He hoped to throw Leo to the ground, but it was too late. The man had already pivoted on his foot and went for a spin. While doing so, he lifted his other leg in the air and managed to kick Quinn right in the head. The force was strong and caused Quinn to fall to the ground. Again, Leo said. Although the force was strong enough to cause him to fall, it didn't do much damage to a body like Quinn's. He tried attacking again, throwing punches of his own, but every time his attacks would come close, Leo would move or, using the palm of his hands, deflect the strikes. Then, when he was attacking, he would use his legs. The confrontation lasted about 10 minutes, and finally, Quinn was starting to get worn out by the whole thing. Yep, those sloppy punches of his, that's the person I fought with yesterday, Fex thought. Okay, that's enough, Leo said. Quinn was now huffing and panting a little, even though he hadn't used any advanced abilities, like the flash step or hammer strike. It seemed to be more tiring fighting against Leo. He would always use the palm of his hands for defense, and whenever he was attacking, he would use his legs. What you have just witnessed is the martial art we teach our soldiers here. It is named the Pugna style. It's important. The reach in our legs is longer and more powerful than in our arms, but our arms are more versatile and flexible. Leo then started to look at the crowd of students again. Is there anyone here who would like to have a go? This is your chance to have a one-on-one battle with your teacher here." Most of the students were nervous. They didn't have many hands-to-hand combat experience because they focused on using their abilities or training with weapons most of the time. Out of all the students there, a single person had his hand raised. "I wouldn't mind having a crack at it," a student announced as he sauntered forward out of the crowd. When he came into view, Quinn was surprised to see who it was. "Just what is he thinking?" Quinn thought. "Oh, if it isn't the newbie," Leo said with a smile. Sweeping his black hair back with his hand and taking a look at Quinn, Fex had a big smile on his face. "Bring it on." Fex and Leo were up on stage, and even Quinn was a little excited to see the outcome of the match. When looking at the two, their fighting stances were quite different. Leo had both hands out in front of him, similar to karate or a little like boxing, while Fex had both hands down by his side, but his knees were slightly bent. Slowly, Fex was circling Leo. Fex was the first to strike. He came in throwing his fists in quick succession, two to the head and then another to the body. However, just like before, by using his palms, Leo was able to knock them away. "He could block them," Fex thought, "but I only pulled back on my speed a little. I was sure from watching the match earlier this would be fast enough." After blocking the attacks, Leo followed up with a kick aimed toward Fex's head. Seeing this, Fex jumped back and tried to grab the leg, but at the last second, it seemed like the angle had changed, causing Fex's grab to miss. "Again! It's like he knows what I'm going to do!" Fex inwardly was starting to get annoyed. Then, while bringing his leg back, he was able to catch Fex on the head with the heel of his foot. As the fight continued, Fex got more excited, and he started putting more power into his punches. It got to the point where it was power beyond a regular human with no ability. While looking at his energy grew wilder and stronger, it started to remind Leo of the Dalki, and this soured his mood. It brought back specific memories. Usually, the Dalki were reckless when they fought, but the toughest opponent Leo ever had to face was one which knew how to use martial arts skills, and right now, the resemblance was too close. Although he was banned from using his abilities, Leo's was slightly different compared to the others. His ability was always on. Since he was blind, he would constantly activate his ability to see the aura of living things around him. In turn, this also allowed him to see the flow of energy in his opponent's body. When an opponent attacks, their energy flow would move before the body of the person did. This was the same when a person used their abilities as well. Fex threw out stiff and straight fast blows with the fist. But knowing what he was going to do beforehand, Leo was able to block all of the attacks. "What? But I was sure I increased the speed quick enough so he wouldn't be able to block it," Fex thought. Then, when Leo prepared for a kick, he could still see where Fex was planning to dodge. He continued to kick in rapid successions, aiming for where Fex would be at each time. "Can he read my mind? What's going on?" Fex asked himself out of frustration. When the kick stopped for a breath of a second, Fex thought he had finally gotten a break, but before he could do anything, another kick was aimed at him from above, an axe kick which slammed down on the back of his head as hard as he could. The blow was harder than Fex thought it would be, so he was unable to prepare himself in time. His legs gave in, and his head bounced off of the ground. Before Leo himself had realized it, he had been too consumed by his past memories. It had affected his usual clear mind. However, he knew the student was safe since his aura was still burning brightly. Fex slowly started to get up, pushing his body up with his arms, with his nose slightly bent. "Unfortunately, I didn't expect to meet such a skilled student, hence I might have taken the fight a little too seriously," Leo said. "Thank you for the battle, teacher. You have taught me how useful your martial arts truly are," Fex said as he bowed down and walked off of the stage. "Wait," Leo said. "Please tell me, where did you learn to fight like that?" "As you can see, my ability is only level 1. My family has always been weak, so we decided to train in the form of martial arts to help build a good foundation," Fex answered. As Fex walked back to the crowd, he quickly snapped his nose back into place. He also had bruise marks all over his body, but they would soon heal, so there wasn't much to worry about. With the 2 demonstrations over, it was time for Leo to start the class. The first thing Leo started to demonstrate was the kicks. Leo asked the group to get into pairs and spar with each other. This was Quinn's chance to approach Fex, as he could see he was all on his own, since no one wanted to pair up with him. "I guess you already know what I am," Quinn said while looking at Fex, keeping his fist closed, ready for things to turn at any second. "Do you know who I am?" Fex asked. Thanks to the system's inspect skill, Quinn did know. Fex sanguinis, correct? Well, it's to be expected. I thought maybe my fame was starting to die around the other families, Fex said, swiping his hair back. I remember you saying that if I needed any help, you would offer your hand. Quinn then took in a deep breath. I need you to help me with the ghoul problem, the one that you captured the other day. Fex then smiled. I thought as much. He had seen Quinn use his shadow ability. It was an ability that other vampires hadn't used in years. Sooner or later, he would be caught by his family and be sent back. If Fex was able to get information from Quinn, how he got this and which family he belonged to, then perhaps the punishment he would receive would be lighter. Of course I can help you, Fex said. But I do have one condition, Fex said, looking over in the direction of the two girls. You see, the one with the golden hair? All I ask is for some alone time with her. There's no way we can trust that guy, Layla shouted. Currently, the whole group had finished their combat classes for the day and were inside Quinn's room. I hate to admit it, Vorden said, but I kind of agree with Layla on this one. What is another vampire doing in this school in the first place? While the others were thinking about what to do, Vorden pulled Quinn off to one side so they could have a private conversation with one another. Hey man, not to add to your worries or anything, Vorden started, but I think we've another problem you should know about. Vorden then went on to explain how a few of Duke's men had come up to Peter in their training session, and how they had asked him to learn the level 4 ability by the end of the week. Then we have no choice, Quinn said. We don't know if Duke is going to keep a closer eye on Peter or what he plans to do. If we don't get Peter off this new diet as soon as possible, then we might have a serious problem on our hands. If it's about trusting the vampire boy or the Duke, I think right now I trust the vampire more. It was a calm day. Quinn stood there opposite Fex, behind the roof door. The door was slightly open as the four of them peeked to have a look at what was going on. Quinn said, We will be waiting just on the other side of that door, and if anything happens to her, we will— I know, Fex said with a yawn. And about the ghoul problem, you promise you'll help us straight after, right? Quinn asked. I already have it sorted, Fex said confidently. Just a fair warning, she knows what you are, so she will be cautious, Quinn replied. Looks like you're breaking rules all over the place, Fex said. I guess it isn't a problem if you plan to turn her eventually. Fex had never seen a vampire break all the rules so casually. There was only one person who was as daring as him, and that was Fex himself. At first, Erin walked slowly, but as she got closer and closer to Fex, she started to walk faster. The closer she got to him, the more annoyed she was at seeing his face. I thought I had already warned you. If you were to mention what you saw in the library, I would teach you a lesson, she shouted. Hearing Erin's words, Fex was a bit confused. He could tell she was angry, but apparently it had something to do with their last meeting. Wait, it couldn't have something to do with that book, could it? As she charged forward, her face had now gone bright red once again, and she pulled out her sword, but suddenly her movement started to slow as she felt something wrapping around her legs and arms. When she looked at Fex, she could see him doing something with his hands. The string-like substance continued to tangle all over her body. Finally, she was completely restricted and could no longer move. Erin was not at the level where she could use the ice abilities with just her mind. She still required small movements with her hands to activate her ability, Fex said. Anyway, hear me out. During my time here, I need a puppet as well as a food source. Now, since you decided to punish me in the library, you have the grace of becoming both of those things.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.